What's happening? My name is Blake Harris, and this is the Music City Mindset. We are graciously located in the NFM network, and we are thankful for that because the opportunities that we have today. We've got an exciting show lined up for you today, and part of the reason why the excitement is so high is I am not here alone. Here co-hosting with me, owner of Spontaneous Beauty, a guy that spent more time in the gyms through our lives than most of the fittest people that I've ever known, and I've never seen him lift a single weight. My best friend, 30 years, Evan Butler.
Yeah.
Easy.
Not alone.
Yeah. We were talking earlier. Callings versus convenience. There's things that we've been trained to do, that we've learned how to do. And like with the gym, coming up in sports, football, how much I loved working out, how much I love being in the gym, it makes sense that I own a gym. I do feel a passion for it because of how I've learned how to help people and make people feel heard and seen and understood, and learning how to meet different types of people on their level. But I don't know at whatever point I was called to do fitness. When I was in college, working with an academic assistant, it was like trying to figure out my major, and it was literally pushing me towards exercise science because it was what I was best at, but it's not really what I wanted to do, but I'm really good at it. I have a passion for it, and I'm not taking anything away from what I've done in the fitness world. But being on these microphones is the closest thing I can really feel deep in my soul is like a real calling. How do you view what you've done for money or for a hobby in the world of callings versus convenience?
Man, there's certain things you start doing that you get that you either tend to do or like to do, or it becomes a job and then a career. And to me, it's when it's like it's something you can't explain, when it's tied into your soul. Mm-hmm. Like when I think back on your calling, I was there for all the years dreaming about owning a gym since you were a little kid, but it was always monetary. It was like, I know this, I know equipment, so let's monetize it, let's open a gym. It was the moment that you were working at another gym with clients, personal training, that I saw you diving into like mental health. And not just what we're doing here for your physical health, but like if you're not mentally healthy, you can't physically healthy, it's not all going to work. We got to have both. And if you're not there, that's okay, but we can get you there or take baby steps. I've seen you give people homework. And the same with me. I actually thought about that this morning because, like, I had a dream from my childhood that never came to fruition, just stayed as a hobby because that wasn't what paid the bills. Mm-hmm. And so here I am kind of at a crossroads point in life, call it a midlife point, whatever it is, that, like, now I'm looking like, where is my soul? Because if you do anything for the money, and we hear it time and time again on this couch, it's going to be terrible. It's not going to work. But if you do it because you feel something inside of you, whether it be God, whether it be just the earth and the universe magnetically pulling you to something, that's the shift, that's the change. And it's like you talked about when you're sitting there with an advisor in college and they're like, you got to make a decision right now. This ain't going to work. This is going to work. You're like, man, I need a minute. I'm a baby, and I need a minute to think about it.
I wanted to do audio engineering.
Right.
But I actually wasn't allowed to do that as a scholarship athlete because in order to finish that major, I'd have to be producing and engineering the performances that are on the weekends that are at night, and that conflicted with the scholarship schedule.
Right.
So I realized then that there were actually majors that athletes are not allowed to have. So I chose the one that I thought would be the easiest grades to stay eligible. But you're right. Like there's things like strongman and stuff like that. I've tried to do something that I enjoy and figure out how to monetize that. And when it becomes your work, it really changes. Then you start thinking about like burnout. Is this sustainable? Things like this. Ever since we started getting in front of microphones consistently, it's just like, it almost like I have to keep up with the opportunities and the momentum that are rolling because we're doing this as opposed to like forcing this. I think now's a good time to officially announce that the Music City Mindset will be the official host MC of of the Clip In for the Cure cancer fundraiser, September 27th at Geodis Park. This opened the door for that. And that wasn't even something I was seeking out, the media credentials. This truly feels like something that excites me, that like like it's going faster than I can go. I'm having to make decisions and chase this instead of me chasing what I want to do versus like it feels like it's chasing me.
It's crazy that the timing of that too. We both lost somebody to cancer this week.
Yeah.
Took a hard loss. But in the midst of that, that's where I see God's big picture. We started talking about this 2 weeks ago or something. And then this, fight for the cure for cancer event comes along and we didn't know we were going to lose this person, but we did.
Now it means more.
And it was like the day we lost him is the day that they called and finalized and were like, hey, we'd like y'all to be a part of this. And it's like, how can I say no when it's like you can just all of a sudden it's like the clouds part and you see it.
And especially like not just calling me to like see if I'm interested, it's calling and saying like, even if you have a make it or break it, like we'll meet that. We want you. The way you introduce people, the way your energy, whatever we need to do to get you. And that just excites me with what we're doing. And what I think we should do is get the opinion of our guest here on the couch.
Yeah.
Because when you hear him talk into this microphone, there's no doubt that he followed a calling because of how he sounds on the microphone. His voice is that of a radio voice. I'm sure you get tired of hearing that. We have with us today
never.
He's an upstate New York icon. He's a certified personal trainer, a former rugby player turned professional wrestler. I can't wait to dive into that.
Oh, yeah.
He's a sports broadcaster for News Channel 5 and a host on Nash Sports Radio. Welcome to the show, Big Guns, Jon Burton.
What up? What up? What's going on,
John?
guys? Thank you so much for having me. It's great
welcome.
to be here. Great to talk with you guys, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun on this. So it's a privilege, man.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. I feel like this is
My
long
pleasure.
overdue for us to have some
we've been talking about it for a while, and
long time.
we finally made it happen. Because schedules get a little busy. It's almost football season, so we're raring to go, and ready for that. But glad we could carve out some time to have a little chat today.
Absolutely. So when you're a part of things like Nash Sports Radio, News Channel 5 Nashville, every time I see you on the screen or, listen to the show, there's the word Nashville attached to your face, your voice, everything you're doing. But you're not from here.
Right.
And the point in this show is figuring out how people not from Nashville have moved here and essentially become integrated with the city, have love for the city.
Man.
But you're not from here.
Right.
So upstate New York.
Yeah.
What was your upbringing like? What was your childhood like? What kind of neighborhood did you grow up in?
Great question. Yeah, I grew up in upstate New York, Rome, New York, which is about 45 miles east of Syracuse, upstate central New York. I actually grew up in the town over from Rome, New York, called Westmoreland, and it's basically just a small farming community, right? It's it's very rural, and I grew up in a great neighborhood. There was kids my age to play with as a kid, and back then, man, we didn't have the distractions that kids have today, so we had to go out and make our own fun, and a lot of it revolved around sports. We played football in the backyard, played basketball, played baseball, played whatever was going on, or just get on a skateboard and just go down the street, or get on your bike and just drive down the street. It was very it was a lot of fun, a lot of simple pleasures back then. So grew up, went to high school and played sports in high school, whatever I could, whatever was in season was.
Did you play everything?
I played football. That was my big sport. I tried to play basketball. But when you're my height and you can't shoot, you can't dribble, you're not gonna play a lot. But I tried to be Michael Jordan, but I was more like, I don't know, not Michael Jordan. I could tell you that. But played a little tennis, played whatever, and I found out not only did I love playing sports and watching sports, but when I watch sports, I love the commentators. I really, really got into what they were saying and how they described the action, whether it was TV or radio. And I just got in my head one day. I was like, man, that'd be a fun way to make a living. And
How old? Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
How
no problem.
old are you when you're having this kind of thought?
probably about 11,
Man,
10 or 11 years old.
Who are you watching at that point?
I'm watching,
Cosell?
I'm watching Howard Cosell. I'm watching Brett Musburger
Yep.
on CBS. And then a little bit later on, Bob Costas.
yeah.
And those guys, I just felt like I wanted to be the network control guy. It felt like Brett Musburger ran the NFL.
Right.
You know, I'd watch the NFL Today, and I grew up a Giants fan, and the Giants games were all on CBS at that time, so I was always watching the NFL Today with Brett Musburger, and I just loved the fact that he would just go through every game and just give all the scores and the highlights and stuff, and he was just so smooth with it at a time where technology is nowhere near where it is now in terms of, what you have at your disposal to describe the action. And I just remember thinking, well, that might not be a bad way to make a living. So I'm going through about 8th grade. There's a program at my junior high school called the Jairus program, where you had to kind of put on these kind of almost like broadcasts, right? You had to come up with a topic, and you had to have still pictures that you could go to. And there was like this little control panel. And I remember I did that really well. But I was one of those kids, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to follow my dad's footsteps and join the United States Air Force, because we grew up just off of an Air Force base. My father was retired, and so, I figured, wow, it'd be a cool way to, kind of get my life started. And then my mother, God rest her soul, mom always knows best, she said, look what you've been doing. You're good at writing. You get good grades in English. You did really well at this Jairus program. She's like, you know what you need to do? And I'm like, huh, what? And she's like, journalism, dummy. And I said, wow, you know what? She's right. So that was probably around 10th or 11th grade. And then I studied radio and television broadcasting at a junior college in upstate New York. And I transferred on to, it's kind of weird in upstate New York, right? Because there's really no New York University. I mean, there is in New York City, but the state college system is there's an acronym called SUNY, State University of New York, and there are satellite campuses all over upstate New York. So I went to the one in Plattsburgh, New York, which is way up north off of Lake Champlain, about an hour and change from Montreal, Canada. The winters there were absolutely brutal.
Oh.
But I got a really good education at a discount price, and I parlayed it into a broadcasting career. And I'm very, very fortunate to say I'm doing exactly what it is I wanted to do since I was probably about 11 or 12 years old. And I know that doesn't always happen. We kind of get in where we fit in, but I've been very, very fortunate from that end. So, I worked in Syracuse, which is basically my hometown, and then I moved on to Buffalo, and then I was in Pittsburgh for a long time, and I've been in Nashville now for 13 and a half years, and I love it. And you mentioned the whole thing about not being from here, but being part of Nashville. It just gets into your blood. Like the experiences I've had professionally and socially, because I lead a pretty active social life. I mean, it's a fun city to do it in.
Yeah.
I have been treated better than I deserve. And I mean, the people here are just so genuine and friendly, and they want you to be a part of what's going on. And so this is home for me. I love Nashville. I got no plans of going anywhere else. I consider Nashville home.
Man, that's just such a testament to the city. The growth for us that have been here like my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
The growth people have mixed feelings about. People fall in and out of love with the city.
Right.
The people
I've been guilty of that. You know what I mean? Because it's like when I first got here, it was actually cheaper to live here than it was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I moved from. And Pittsburgh is, no disrespect to anybody, but it's not a destination city, right? The people that the insers, get downtown, go to Huntsville, go watch some Stellars, and they're great people, but everybody that lives there, they're from there.
Yeah.
Their parents are from there. Their grandparents are from there.
Yeah.
It's a very, very parochial area. And I love living there, but moving here and just seeing, all the different types of people and styles of living and stuff like that. But to your point, I do have mixed emotions about Nashville growing. It's great, but
it's not the city that you moved to. It's a different city now. Certainly in terms of cost of living, I can tell you that now, which is why I'm trying to juggle a bunch of things to hustle, because I want to stay here. I want to live here, but it's not easy.
I mean, being born and raised here, we find the same struggle that, like, we love it. This is our city, but, like, we can't afford to necessarily live in the city.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We've been talking lately. I mean, you talking about growing up, listening to broadcasting radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this makes us sound really old, but radio was such a big part of our lives.
Huge.
As kids.
Getting up in the morning, getting ready for school, eating your breakfast, the radio's going. All the top 40 hits or top country hits, whatever.
Even what's been around. We don't have to say names because I know the career you're in. Let me say those things, know, save you.
Okay.
But we didn't always have great, like the Titans coming here, things like that. We didn't always have great broadcasters with the big networks like you might have had being around New York and, you know, those kind of things. So a lot of times growing up when the Titans first got here, I'd have the TV on mute and be listening to, to the radio show.
Sure.
Because for me, it's interesting to me. I wanted to bring this up because the guys you mentioned were the technical guys in commentating.
Mm-hmm.
But like what typically like what I'm drawn to when I'm listening to a commentator is the color guy. That's the entertaining, the humor,
right?
The sound effects with the voice. You know, that's what I was drawn to. And the guys you mentioned are usually like looks like the guys that are doing this because they couldn't play sports. Like I mean, I love Bob Costas, but like, I mean, he's the
he comes across as a little pompous and arrogant, and I know more than you. I'm smarter than you because that's just his style. But it's worked all those years. But to your point, I mean, growing up, watching Giants games with Pat Summerall and John Madden who was better than John Madden?
Nobody.
Because of his enthusiasm, and he got it because he was a successful NFL coach and he understood the game. But he was able to make us understand the game from a non-technical side. Yes. He was a fan that happened to be a really good coach, and he brought that excitement, and that was a big part of it too.
Yeah.
Like I just remember, in the 80s when the Giants were really good, they had Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms and Joe Morris. Seemed like every game, every week, Summerall and Madden were doing the Giants games. And it was great. It was a great way to grow up because team was winning, had this great broadcast team. And, I don't think it can be overemphasized the effect that John Madden had not only on football, but broadcasting in general. And I mean, they named a game after him. The kids that play Madden today have no idea who Madden is.
No.
They just know it's a great NFL video game.
Well, I think that's a good segue to really talk about how and why you doing broadcasting came here to this city. Because when you talk about being around New York, we didn't get Madden and Summerall and all the Titans games. We didn't even have the Titans growing up.
Right.
And so you're talking about Pittsburgh, football town, right? Like those dudes, I mean, you're talking about like what kind of culture they had of like their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents are all from that area where this is more of a transplant, destination city. But they're generational Steelers fans because they've had the Steelers for so long.
Right.
What was it like coming to Nashville that's kind of a baby, an infant in the NFL world, the Major League sports world, to do broadcasting here, and why Nashville?
Yeah, that's a great question because you're right, because major professional sports really hasn't been here that long, right? Late 90s for the Predators, late 90s for the Tennessee Titans as well. My situation was a little unique. I was working in TV in Pittsburgh. I'd finally gotten up to be, where I was advanced to be like the top guy, the Monday through Friday guy. I'd been a weekend guy my whole career, and I finally had that opportunity. And unfortunately, in 2008, the economy went bad, and the station had to make some cuts. So I had 2 years left of my contract. They paid me for one, and so I just kind of floated around for a while. I didn't own a home. I didn't have a wife or kids or anything like that, and I was living in like a $700 a month, 1-bedroom apartment. It was nice, but it was just, a different time back then. So tried to take advantage of the free time and, I actually got an audition with the WWE to be an announcer. They flew me in to New York and drove me to Stamford, Connecticut, and I got to audition. That was fun. But I was trying to get back into TV. And then December of that year, actually right before Christmas, the CBS radio station, they formed an all-sports 24-hour FM station, which had never been done before in the city of Pittsburgh, if you believe that. And so I was one of the charter members of that. I got recruited to do that. I said, all right, well, this will keep me sharp until I figure out if I want to get back into TV. I'd been on a couple of interviews for a couple of stations, and I think it was one of those things where, all right, we like your tape, we like you, but the thing was, why haven't you found a job yet? I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying. And so like, we don't know, right? So I decided, okay, I need to hire an agent. I need to have somebody go out there and do the work for me, and I'll just pay him to do the work for me. So I hired an agent through a guy that I had worked with at my previous station, and I finally got him a tape, and he shopped it around, and he just called me one day, and he said, there's a station in Nashville. It's the dominant #1 station in the market, and they're looking to do something a little bit different. They've had the dominant #1 sports guy for years, talking about the great Hope Hines.
Yep.
Shout out to him. Great guy. And but he was retiring, and they said, we want to do something a little bit different. We don't want to have the traditional Monday through Friday guy, or in this case, the Sunday through Thursday guy, because everybody does the big Sunday night show after the late news. We want to do it to where they have a co-#1 anchor. So someone anchors sports one half of the week, and the other one does it the other half, and everything's split exactly down the middle. I'm like, that's interesting. He called me up. He said, they liked your tape. They want to interview you. I said, okay. So I did a phone interview with them. That went well. And they flew me into Nashville. I had the audition and met everybody. And I didn't think much of it. I just thought it'd be, it's a good experience, get me out of work for a day, flight out to Nashville, hang out, and, it'll be a good experience. So that was, I think, on a Wednesday or maybe a Tuesday. And then the agent calls on Thursday, and he's like, he's an old gruff guy, one of those old crusty guys, I discovered Meredith Vieira, and I did, he's one of those guys. Yeah, exactly. Right. He's one of those dudes who always tell you what he did and who he worked with and who he discovered and who he made famous.
In this town.
Exactly. Yeah, he's definitely that guy. So he calls me up. He's like, well, better decide if you want to move to Nashville or not. They they're drawing up a contract offer for you. I was like, what? And lo and behold, I accepted the offer. And as far as like why I wanted to come to Nashville, I just wanted to get back in TV. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, what I loved to do, even though I loved radio, and I still do it now, which is awesome. But I just felt like at that point in my life, I'd been in Pittsburgh a long time, and it's a lot different. When you're not from Pittsburgh, like I said, it's very parochial. It's very, Pittsburgh loves Pittsburgh. And when you come there,
tell you're not Pittsburgh by how you talk.
And then when you come in, and I was one of those people, I was like, listen, I cover your teams, but I still root for my teams. And they didn't understand that. They're like, what do you mean you're a Yankees and Giants fan? You're in Pittsburgh now. I'm like, so? You cover our sports. Yeah, I cover them. I gather the information. I present it to you. I don't necessarily openly root for them because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be objective.
Right.
I'll tell you a story. One time, it was 2010. It was a preseason football. It was a Monday night. I was off, and the Giants were playing the Jets. And I said, "Oh, Monday Night Football. It's still nice out, like day like it is today." I was like, "I'm gonna go down to a little sports bar and check out the Giants Jets preseason game." So I walk in. I got my Giants gear on, and I'm 40 at the time. I'm a grown ass man, and this kid, he could have been more than 23 or 24. He gets off his bar stool. He gets right in my face. He goes, what's with all this Giants blank you got on? I go, excuse me? He's like, you're in the Berg. You don't wear that crap here. I said, bro, you better sit down and eat your chicken wings or it's not going to end well for you. And I laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, wow, it's really hardcore here.
Yeah.
So here,
not that culture here.
It's not that culture. People love the Titans, but they don't care if you cover their team and you like another team. I talk on my radio show all the time. I complain about the Yankees. I complain about the Giants, but I also try to talk objectively and fairly about the local teams here because I do genuinely want to see them do well because it's good for business. You guys know when the local teams are playing well, it's a fun city to be in.
We talk about a lot. If you grew up here, because we didn't have the Titans,
right?
Most people you talk to have 1, 2, 3 teams, at least.
Well, I remember like weren't people a lot? Weren't there a lot of Colts fans
Yes,
because of Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people kept like their parents grew up as Colts fans because of Peyton.
Sure.
Now the kids have had the Titans, but they're still kind of Titans fans because it's what they've had, but they're kind of Colts fans. There was some Falcons fans,
Sure.
both about 4 hours away.
Right.
But now there's so many people moving here from other cities that they're still the fan of where they're from.
Of course.
They want the Titans to do well. We worked on Broadway for a while. So like when the Titans were good, it directly equated to more money in our pockets. So,
Right.
I mean, we see how that affects the
It's
economy.
a lot easier to walk into a locker room of a team that's winning and
Yes.
get interviews than when the team's losing. I'll tell you that. And I try to tell those Pittsburgh people, it's like, all right, you're a proud Steelers fan. You're from Pittsburgh. You represent your city. What happens if you get a great job offer in Denver, Colorado? You're going to walk in that sports bar on Sunday. Everybody else is going to have Broncos gear. You're going to wear your Pittsburgh Steelers gear, and everybody said anything to them, you're going to knock them out, right? Yeah. That's just what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pittsburgh, I've actually done some history on Pittsburgh because they were actually the first team marketed as America's team.
Yep.
Because
That's exactly right.
when the industrial boom happened, there were so many people from Pittsburgh, like you're talking about, getting job opportunities and moving steel to when they started erecting buildings with steel beams and stuff all over the city. So there's a Pittsburgh bar somewhere.
Every city has a Pittsburgh
every city
bar.
in America. Every
city has a Cowboys bar and a Steelers bar. You're right. They went to the Rooney family, Art Rooney, the former owner of the Steelers, and said, "We'd like to make you America's team." And they basically said, "No, we're Pittsburgh's team. We're not America's team."
Yeah.
So they went to the Cowboys.
Jerry
and
Jones.
the Cowboys said, "Yep, we'll be America's team for you." That's exactly right. That is a true story.
But so that had to feel kind of like a culture shock of like coming to a city to cover sports to people that almost act like they don't give a shit about the sports.
Right.
Like, you got Derrick Henry at one point, like getting on TV, like begging fans to show up. That's you don't have to do that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was crazy. You talk about the culture shock. I remember after I verbally agreed to take the job and, I'm making my plans to, move to this part of the country. And, they were kind enough, News Channel 5 was kind enough to fly me in for a couple of days and while I looked for a place to stay. And so I flew in on a Sunday, and it was late April, early May. The weather was beautiful. And I stayed downtown in one of the hotels downtown. So it's Sunday night. I don't have to go look at places until the next day. I'm like, I'm going to go out, see what's going on out there. So I'm walking, I think I was on maybe 4th Street or whatever, and I get down to Broadway, and I see a horse and buggy just go right down the street like it's a car, like a horse-drawn carriage, and there's these two beautiful, majestic horses in the front, and there's a guy's got the reins, and there's a couple in the back having the time of their lives. I'm thinking, I'm in the South now.
You are in the South.
Yeah. So, but it was culture shock. Yeah, but I've always been a pretty adaptable guy, and I just I got with the vibe of this city pretty quickly, and it just suits the way I like to live because I'm a work hard, play hard guy, and this is the ultimate work hard, play hard city, and there's something to do pretty much every day and every night, and that's what I love about this city. So it didn't take me long to adjust, but at first I was like, the one thing I had to adjust, like being from the Northeast, right? Like strangers normally don't go up and speak to each other.
No.
It's kind of like, what's up? And you keep it moving. So I get established, get all my stuff moved in. I'm like, all right, time to go to the grocery store, stock up the fridge. I go to the Publix in Bellevue. And I think I had a Syracuse T-shirt on. This guy just walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, buddy, are you from Syracuse?" And I was like, "Oh, who are you, man? What's going on? I don't know you. Why are you talking to me?" So I had to get used to that, but it's been fantastic.
When did you know? So when I'm assuming at some point in adolescence, when did your voice change and you start? I'm assuming hearing people say like, "Hey, you got a great voice." 'Cause I've been told I got a face for radio.
But you got a great set of pipes, my man.
But and people say that, but I got my voice from my father. It got me in trouble. Like when we were teenagers, he might call and think it was me. Until the weekend plans, and then I'm in trouble. And so, like, did your voice come from somewhere?
I don't know where it came from, man. You know, my mother was from Virginia. My father was from inner city Philadelphia. And, you know, my mother had kind of a little bit of a Southern twang to her voice. My father had more of a city dialect. I don't know where it came from. I just had this ability to speak and enunciate. And, yeah, when my voice changed, I guess, what age is it? Like 12, 13? I don't even know. And I was born with this. I don't know where it came from. I really don't. And, you know, I was able to parlay it into a career in broadcasting, and I'm very, very, thankful for it. But man, I just, I don't know where it comes from. And it used to puzzle my parents too. Like, cause I would talk to them about stuff and I would just talk the way that I talk, and they would just kind of look at each other and look at me like, is this our kid? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding there. But, I was just born and blessed with it, and I just always could be able to read and enunciate. I read a lot as a kid, and I would always kind of read out loud sometimes what I was reading, and I just had the ability to just kind of speak and enunciate. I wish I knew where it came from. God, I guess. Thank you, God. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good looking out.
He knew you'd need it.
Well, so far we've pretty much covered just the backstory, what makes you sound like you, and kind of how your mind works, how you looked at moving here. There's some other things we want to dive into, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back here with Jon Burton.
If you're a wellness or fitness pro looking for a space that truly fits the way you work, check out B2 Wellness Suites. With locations in Brentwood and Mount Juliet, B2 offers private suites, shared offices, and day rentals, all in a calm, welcoming environment designed for our industry. But it's more than just a space. It's a community of like-minded professionals who support, inspire, and grow together. Learn more at b2suites.com.
And we are back here at the Music City Mindset. We are here with an incredible conversation with the one, the only Jon Burton.
Yeah.
What's up?
So
Great to be here, guys.
I saved this for coming out of the break.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
You being big guns. Not only with Impact Wrestling, but you mentioned you even potentially had some work with the WWE and kind of gotten in through that. How did that start? How did you get into wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, like, what was your moves? Like, I want to know about this.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird story. I got into it late in life, actually. I've always been a wrestling fan since I was 10 years old. Like 4 years before Hulk Hogan, God rest his soul, really put it into the mainstream, I used to watch it, right? So I've always been a wrestling fan. And I happened to meet one night in Pittsburgh Corey Graves, who is one of the announcers for WWE, and he's from Pittsburgh. His family's from Pittsburgh, and his dad owned a little independent wrestling company north of Pittsburgh in Butler, PA. Butler, PA. See, Evan Butler. See what I did there?
Dang.
Yeah. He's good.
And they said, you know what? Because I was doing sportscasting at Channel 4, so I was kind of a celebrity, whatever. And they said, you should come out and be a guest ring announcer. I said, absolutely, I'd love to do that. And so I was able to go to the show, and I got to be behind the scenes and meet all the wrestlers. And there was a great group of independent wrestlers that worked for this company. And I came out, and I introduced the wrestlers and stuff like that, and I had a great time. So there was a guy named Bubba who was a morning radio DJ in Pittsburgh at a very popular station, but he's also a trained wrestler. Mm. And so Corey got the idea. He said, you know what? It'd be fun. You should wrestle Bubba. Bubba will be the heel or the bad guy. You'll be the good guy. And we'll, hype it up in advance, and we'll get a good ticket out of it. And you'll be the main event. I said, be great. He's like, all right, well, we got to get you trained. Now, I'm in my late 30s at the time, right? And so they had a practice ring set up in the Plum area of Pittsburgh, actually where Pat McAfee's from. Yep. And so I went out there and I went to train, and I learned how to take bumps and run the ropes and, give a hip toss, give a slam, take a hip toss, take a slam, drop kick, all that kind of stuff. And, I was a decent athlete, so I took to it pretty good. And I learned pretty quickly. So we set this match up, right? It's going to be JB versus Bubba, from B94, JB from Channel 4 Action News versus Bubba from B94. And it was great because he talked, he got on his show and he talked about how I'm going to kick his ass. And he's cutting a promo on me on his radio show. It was great. So I would cut promos on him. So we're about two days before the match, right? I'm getting excited. He texts me, Bubba, my opponent. We'd already pretty much had the match worked out, what we're going to do. And he texts me and he says, I can't do the match. I have to have emergency throat surgery. Ooh. Now, he's a DJ, so,
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. So we said, all right, what are we going to do? Because we'd already promoted the show and the whole deal. So one of the guys that I was training with that helped train me was my buddy Aaron. And he went by the wrestling name Ashton Amherst. And we were similar size, similar athletic ability. And so one of us got the idea, we'll have Aaron replace Bubba, and we'll do a storyline to where Bubba decided at the last minute, I don't need to wrestle him. He's beneath me. I'm sending this guy in my place because, I don't need to be bothered with this. I'm Bubba from B94. You're nobody. So we do a whole storyline to where Aaron or Ashton is going to replace him. And we had already worked the match out. I practiced the match with him before I, got in the ring with Bubba, and then we were going to work it out at a later time. So we already had the match completely down.
Oh, wow.
So he comes out, he cuts a promo on me. He's like, yeah, Bubba doesn't need to be here. I'm here in his place. And so we have our match. And it went well. I won. Yay. And the crowd enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun. And it was one of the funnest nights of my life. And I'm thinking, you know what? I can go to my grave saying I had a pro wrestling match.
That's cool.
Well, here's what happens. Every independent company in the Western Pennsylvania area starts calling me and say, hey, we want to use you. Would you come in? I'm like, okay. So there was a company called PWX, Pro Wrestling Express, and they ran out of McKeesport, Pennsylvania, which is, a suburb of Pittsburgh. So they brought me in, they worked up a storyline, and smartly they worked me with Aaron, who also worked for that company. And so my thing was, I was a babyface or a good guy wrestler, and I was, I'm giving wrestling a try, and I got the fans of Pittsburgh behind me, and I'm going to give it all I got. Good guy, total white meat babyface, although, obviously, you get it. Right. Just a super over-the-top good guy. And
Coco beware.
Right. And he was like a, super bad guy, athletic bad guy. So we matched up, our styles matched up well. So we had a feud. That went well. They put me in a few other feuds. And I was wrestling there on and off for about a year. Then there was another company, which is out in West Newton, Pennsylvania, probably about 45 miles outside of Pittsburgh. And I drove there one night with Corey and with Aaron because they were booked for the show. I said, I'll just tag along with you guys and hang out. And something told me, you know what? Just throw my wrestling gear in the car because you never know.
Just in case.
Just in case. That's the thing. If you're going to a show and you're not booked, they always say bring your gear because you never know. Like the promoter could take a look at you and be like, who are you? I'm so-and-so. Do you know how to wrestle? Yeah. I'm going to use you tonight, and I'm going to pay you. So we're driving there, and my buddy Ryan, who was also booked on the show, calls up and says, hey, do you have your gear with you? I'm like, yeah, it just so happens I do. He's like, can you work tonight? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. So but they said, here's the thing. You're going to work heel. You're going to be a bad guy. So I wrestled this guy, Teddy Fine. He was like one of the biggest over good guys in that particular company. And I was like, I can't be a bad guy. What do I do? It was the most fun I ever had. Yeah. Like I work, being a bad guy's fun, man, because you control the match. You know what I mean? And I'm yelling at the crowd, and I'm doing all this stuff. So I'm working for two companies at the same time. I'm a good guy in one. I'm like babyface Jon Burton, Channel 4 sports guy, giving wrestling a try. And then at the other company, I was big homie Jonathan Burton from New York, hates Pittsburgh, hates the people of Pittsburgh. I'm better than you. We did a show after the Steelers lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It was a week after. they introduce me. My music plays. I come out and I'm wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey and a
Oh,
Green
my
Bay Packer
God.
hat, and they are booing the crap out of me.
Oh man.
And I get on the mic and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know what it is? Green and yellow, green and yellow, green and yellow." I said, "I just want to thank my dear friend, the best quarterback in the NFL." Aaron Rodgers, the guy's way better than that loser Ben Roethlisberger, and just like I predicted, I mean, your team choked. I mean, they're ready to jump the rails. They're booing the crap out of me.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
a lot of times they're waiting on you after the match
Yeah.
when you get in your car.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
yeah. Oh, I interviewed Roddy Piper. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out. Type in my name and Roddy Piper. He told me the story. He got stabbed like 3 times during his heel run. He said one time was like an inch from the heart. He almost died.
Maybe greatest heel of all time.
Oh, yeah. He said, I'm going home fighting off fans, and Hogan's riding in a limo staying in the best hotels.
With Mr. T.
Yeah. So Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan, they didn't get along too well for a while.
It's neat that you transitioned into wrestling in a different way because down south, territory days,
Yep.
you always had your news involved. A lot of people may not even realize, but like Memphis, you had your weather guy was your commentator.
Mm-hmm.
Your cameraman also doubled for wrestling. Here
Right.
in Nashville, same thing. And it's neat to see them bring you in for commentating and then be like, wait a minute, pull him in the ring. And those rings that I say small time, not knocking them in any way, but those wrestling schools. You're usually on the toughest, oldest ring.
Oh, yeah.
Learning how to take a bump. Basically learning enough to get yourself hurt or save yourself. It's up to you.
Sink or swim.
Mhm.
Very much so. So I actually had more matches than I had trainings, but I had, I practiced whenever I could, but I had the ability to take instruction. They'd always pair me up with a veteran, and I would let him call the match. And I would say, well, okay, I do this pretty well, so maybe we can work this in. Okay, yeah, let's do that. But by and large, you always let the veteran call the match, and especially a veteran heel, because it's, the script can be pretty easy, right? The babyface goes in there, gets a little shine, what we like to call, heel cuts him off, works his heat, you make the comeback, and then, however the match finishes. So I was good at being able to do that, to like take instruction and kind of remember the spots. But that's the biggest challenge, is remembering the spots of a wrestling match. But if you're in there with a good veteran that can, improvise or ad lib or whatever, and will take care of you, you end up looking pretty good, even though you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Well, I mean, especially with how you look. I mean, he's like, I'm here to commentate. And they're like, bullshit.
Right. Just like Taz, like.
Yeah, Taz. Oh, one of the all-time greats. But yeah, I've been able to meet so many great people, and then I did do some work with Impact Wrestling here in Nashville during COVID when they couldn't travel. So I was doing the pre-show, co-hosting the pre-show, and that was great. Got to meet a lot of the great wrestlers that work for that company. Eric Young, who lives here, EY is great dude. Jeremy Fritz, great guy, and I got a great relationship with Jeff Jarrett. Obviously, we were the first. I was the first local reporter to interview him after he got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Wow!
So that was a thrill for me, and so I got a little scoopage on that. And wrestling's been a big part of my life. I still watch it. I still enjoy it. I'm not as glued to it as I used to be, but like I said, knowing Corey Graves, I'm really proud of him and what he's done at WWE. So got a lot of friends at a lot of different companies.
Big wrestling fans. We feel like, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as great as it once was
Right.
in our eyes, but
Definitely bigger.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got the Pro Wrestling Symphony that's in town now. Those guys are crushing
A
it.
lot of great independent companies in and around Middle Tennessee. They all do a great job. I mean, and you go to their shows. I mean, it's high quality entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're talking about being able to interview Roddy Piper and things like that. Let's talk about your media career.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing this long. We got very spoiled. Our first big event was a UFC event where we were wined and dined, and they took such good care of us. We've done some events since then.
Mm-hmm.
Realize it's not going to always be like that, but but in that first moment, it was mixed emotions with that first event that we did, because we were just so enamored and just grateful to even be in the room.
Sure.
With how close we're able to get as being with the media, talking to the people. So my first question is like, what's like when you think back on like a moment that like you were so excited to be there, the people that you've gotten to interview, like what's something you think back on of like, I did that?
The best story I can give you along that is after I graduated from college, I was working part-time at the TV station, which would become my first full-time station. I was a sports producer. I'd go in Monday through Friday and I'd work basically 6 to 11. I'd help the nighttime sportscaster get his show ready, right? So I would make that truck from Syracuse every day, or from where I'm from to Syracuse every day, about a 45-minute drive. And there was an event in Utica, New York, which is a couple towns over from where I'm from, where the minor league baseball team there, the Blue Sox, they were a affiliate, like a low A ball affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. And the sports guy, who is Dan Horde, who's a dear friend of mine, he's the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's one of those, I wouldn't have a career if it weren't for him, and a couple other people, but he was the first guy I worked with and worked for. He calls me up, and I just gotten home from my other job, and I'm eating dinner. I'm getting ready to, take a shower and head up to Syracuse. And Dan calls me up, and he says, listen, I need you to do something for me. You live close to Utica, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, they're having like a hot stove event for the Utica Blue Sox at the Stanley Theater in Utica, New York on Main Street. I said, yeah, I know where that is. He said, Jim Rice is going to be there. Now, if you follow baseball, Jim Rice is a Hall of Famer, played for the Boston Red Sox, really well-respected, really solid player. Was an outfielder, home run hitter, whole deal. I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame. Even though I'm a Yankee fan, I hate the Red Sox, but I always respected Jim Rice, right?
Had to.
He said, he's going to be there. We're going to send a camera down for you. I'd like you to interview him for the 11 o'clock news tonight. And this is the first time I ever really done an interview with anybody. And he gave me some tips as to what to ask him. And he said, be careful, tread lightly, because he can be kind of an ornery guy. So, just be careful how you approach him. Be careful how you ask the questions. Just do the best you can. So I said, okay. So I threw on something halfway decent. I was just out of college. I didn't have really good clothes. I think I threw on a pair of slacks and maybe a shirt. I drive down to the Stanley Theater in Utica, and I meet the PR person, and they set me up with Jim Rice. And I'm like, Mr. Rice, it's an honor to meet you, this and that. And so I conduct the interview, and I asked him about his career. He was there because he was a roving hitting instructor for the Blue Sox. So I asked him what his role would be there and all that. And we had a great conversation. And that was the year Reggie Jackson was going into the Hall of Fame. So Dan suggested, ask him about Reggie Jackson, obviously a contemporary of him. What are his thoughts on Reggie going to the Hall of Fame, all those great Yankees, Red Sox battles that they had in the late 70s and that kind of stuff. And he said, get his thoughts on maybe him going into the Hall of Fame someday. And it couldn't have went better. And he was the nicest guy. And so we get done with the interview. I said, Mr. Rice, I appreciate the interview. Thank you so much. So we turn off the cameras and stuff, and I go to walk away. He goes, whoa, wait a minute. He goes, so tell me about yourself. What's your deal? And I told him, I said, I'm just graduated from college. I'm trying to get a career in broadcasting. And, and we just sat there and had a wonderful conversation off the record or, off camera. He's asking me about myself.
Wow.
So
That's
one of the people that, I guess he was supposed to speak at this event. And so one of the people came out and said, Mr. Rice, they're ready for you now. And Jim Rice looks at the person. He goes, not now. I'm talking to this young man right now. I'll be in when I'm ready.
Damn.
And the person was like, sorry. Person was like moonwalked away. He's like, okay, no problem. He goes, I'm sorry about that. What were you saying? And I was like, that's when I knew, you know what? I might have a future in this. Because what I've been able to do throughout my career is forge good relationships with the athletes and coaches that I've covered. And that's something I take pride in. You're not there to be their friend, right? I got a job to do. You got a job to do. But if we can have a good working relationship, that makes life a lot easier. I've always had that ability to be able to get the majority of the players and coaches I've covered to be okay with dealing with me from a media standpoint.
That's a beautiful segue into what I wanted to talk to you about, how media has evolved over over social
How
media.
much time do we have?
But like,
There's a lot I could say to that.
What it seems like I've put through, because I'm new in this media world.
Sure. Doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. But one of the things I noticed,
Thank you.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you too, Ezra.
Shout out to Ezra over there running the show.
But like, it seems to me that I would only assume, if I'm trying to put two and two together, try to read a room to figure out how to be in the room.
Yeah.
Feel like I deserve to be in the room.
Right.
But it seems like, I'm guessing that it's evolved as social media and things have changed, because I still feel like an athlete. So you talking about how you built relationships with the athletes, with the coaches, with the owners. I sat in a room and watched people who've been doing media for, I'm guessing, decades, go up there, and the questions they're asking, they're all asking the same question. They're all irritating the athletes, getting on Dana White's nerves. You know, like doing it in a way where they don't care about this athlete. They don't care about what this athlete just did. Nope. They're asking questions about what's going to happen. Like, I don't feel like I was in a room of media that respected the athlete, respected Dana's position. And I like, how do you deal with that? Because it feels like the questions I was asking to respect what this person just went through.
Exactly.
Just, in that case, the ring beating the shit out of each other, whether you won or lost.
Right.
Yeah. But like, none of the questions I got or that I asked them were ever going to be like snipped into clickbait, used for anything like that. So when you see the press conferences and the snippets as a fan on social media afterwards, I see what those other media guys are doing and what they're trying to accomplish. So is that really just something that's necessary in media right now for how things are? Or is there a better way of doing things to still have that relationship with the people like you're talking about?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I'm an OG when it comes to this, and it wasn't like this when I started. You know, we didn't have the social media or to where now everybody's got a blog and everybody, like you go to SEC Media Days and it's like, you know, it used to be just established credentialed media. Now it's like everybody that has a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that, they're all let in the building. And, you know, what I don't like, to your point, is that everybody seems to have an agenda now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everybody wants to get clicks. Everybody wants to get aggregated. And half the people that are shooting their mouths off on these debate shows, which I absolutely cannot stand, they don't know the next word out of their mouth. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'll name names. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith. You know, Skip Bayless made a fortune by bashing LeBron James for 2 decades, trying to convince us that he wasn't an all-time great. He wasn't a clutch player. You know, he's not, you know, one of the greatest players of all time, when we all know this guy's a 4-time champion. He's a 4-time MVP. And if you have half a brain, and I don't necessarily want to get into the debate, but if you have half a brain, you know that LeBron James is no worse than the second greatest player in basketball history, you know. But he kept this negative narrative about he's this, he's that, and so many people picked up on it. And just, he would flat out tell lies about him.
Yeah.
You know, and now you have Stephen A. Smith, who makes a ton of money and, you know, had a lot of success. I'm not knocking that, but this is a guy that just, he gets on the TV and he just yells about whatever. He's supposed to be an NBA expert. I don't think he knows jack all about the NBA. He don't know anything about the NFL. This guy's telling me, well, he should have done that and you should have done this and this. You know, that's what it's become now, to where it's the chic thing to bring down the athletes, bring down the coaches, criticize the organizations, instead of just, hey, this is my opinion. You know, I don't think they're playing very well in this area. They need to pick this up. But to this whole doom and gloom, bash everything all the time, sports debate thing, it's not for me. And that's not my style. I'm there to gather the information. I don't want to be the story. I want to present the story. And now you have all these media personalities that are fighting one another socially. Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's getting out of control. And I don't like
it. Almost seemed like a race of who could grab the microphone and ask the most annoying question first, and then not care at all what kind of mood.
Right. Because they want to get likes on social media. They want to get aggregated. So, did you hear what so-and-so asked Coach today? And that's never been my style.
It reminds me.
I'm not afraid to ask a hard question or a tough question or an uncomfortable question. because that's part of the gig.
Right.
But I don't do it in a grandstanding way like, hey, look at me. There's way too many, hey, look at me sports media members here locally and nationally as well. No names,
It's
please.
a very tabloid, National Enquirer way of going about it for me. And even moving into TMZ and all this. And I'm glad you told that story because we experienced it.
Yeah.
When we gave them respect and we're like, hey, they've been training for this for months.
Right.
How about we talk about what they just did?
Right.
Or somebody's been knocked out, and then afterwards they invite us out, and we're like, why? And then they're like, who are y'all?
Yeah.
They could tell that we were new or different because of the questions we asked.
Right.
But then that left me being like, if I want to continue this and actually pursue this, do I have to change how I'm doing it to get the notoriety or the publications to do that? Or can I do it this way that still involves that relationship?
Yeah, because
building
when
with
you
people?
ask questions, you conduct yourself in a respectful manner. You know, the thing is now, oh, you're soft. You're not afraid to, or you're afraid to ask the tough questions, which is ridiculous. No, it's just you treat people with respect. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Treating people with respect and how you deal with them day to day does not make you soft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could tell. Like, that really irritates me.
I could tell. So I'm glad I'm getting to ask you about it because
I'm glad you did.
My
I'm really
first,
glad you did.
our
It
first,
irritated us,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
but then I'm in a weird position because I don't want to be. I want to be taken seriously,
Sure.
but it feels like our first credentialed event, and I feel like I'm fighting for the integrity of media.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing is, man, just if that's your style, hey, run with it. But if it's not, just be you, and they'll see, through time. I mean, the athletes and coaches are very, very smart, and they know who's, doing the gotcha questions and the clickbait questions, who's phony and who's real, who wants to just do their job, gather the information and bring it to the masses. So they pick up on that pretty quick. So that's, I give them credit for that, but it's just some of the sports media today just makes me want to poke a
To me, it makes
toothpick
you
in my eye.
replaceable because you're gonna get yourself to a point searching for that kind of negativity and clickbait.
Mhm.
Like we all know, if you let negative in, that's what you're gonna feed.
Right.
But you're gonna also have people that no longer want to give you an interview, no longer want to talk to you. So
Mhm.
you're basically working yourself out of a job, and hopefully your social media, whatever, is taking off. But if you run out of people that are like, I don't want to sit down with him,
Right.
all he's going to do is twist a story on me.
Right. See, there's a fine line, guys, to where, you can be a respectful, honest journalist, right? You go to one extreme of being like the clickbait aggregating guy, or the other side where you're being a fanboy or a fangirl. Neither one of those is what you want. You want to be right down the middle, call balls and strikes. Like I said, ask the tough questions when you have to, but have a justification for it, and just treat people with respect, because you want to work. It's a working relationship. It's not a personal relationship, right? I'm not friends with any of these guys. I don't want to be friends with any of these guys, but I just want them to respect me when I come into the locker room. Hey, you know what? John's going to shoot me a fair one. I'll do an interview with him.
Yeah. Well, that's important. That's good to know that it can still be done.
It's still, I believe in it. Yeah, I still hold out a belief that you can do it the right way.
Well, that's good. That's good. Because that's, if I get the opportunity to do that, that's how I'd want to do it. So,
Because you've got to go. Elephant in the rooms. You got sacked 4 times today, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Best example I can give is I was covering a Titans-Steelers game in Pittsburgh about 10 years ago, right? Yeah, I was back in Pittsburgh. Thursday night game, right? Titans were down 16-7, but they put a nice drive together. So, they had goal to go, and it looked like they were going to get a touch. You get a touchdown there. It's a 2-point game. It's, it's 16-14. It's game on. You're ready to go. And Mariota threw a pass, and Delaney Walker was wide open, ran a great pattern, worked himself wide open in the end zone. Ball was right in his hands, and for whatever reason, he dropped it. He just dropped it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm interviewing him after the game. I have to ask him about that play.
Yeah.
But I didn't say, why did you drop that pass? I said, Delaney, what happened on that pass in the end zone? See the difference?
yeah.
And Delaney, who got it, and was very media savvy, said, I dropped it. It's my fault. I pride myself on catching everything that hits my hands. I don't know what happened. It just, for whatever reason, I dropped it. And, it probably cost us the game. And I didn't dwell on it. I went on to the next question about
gave him
whatever.
a chance to explain himself.
Right. See, instead of saying, why did you drop that pass? I let him say that he dropped the pass.
Yeah.
So I asked him what happened on that pass in the end zone.
Yeah,
he said I dropped it. There you go.
You've also had the opportunity to cover Super Bowls, Final Fours.
Yeah.
You actually get to go to these events.
Yeah.
So you've been to a Super Bowl.
I've covered 3 Super Bowls. I've covered an NCAA Final Four. I've covered Stanley Cup Finals. I've covered the NBA playoffs. I've covered a Major League Baseball All-Star game. I've done some things in my career.
Yeah,
Been very, very lucky, very fortunate.
what's one of those favorite big events that you think back on fondly of wow, that was awesome that I was in that room?
The one thing that sticks out for me is that 2006 All-Star game. And it was in Pittsburgh at PNC Park. And, we were covering it all week. And there were great events. And I just remember being on the field during batting practice and watching Derek Jeter take his hacks, and Alex Rodriguez obviously is a Yankee fan. And that whole experience was great because I interviewed, I think there were so many people. I interviewed Chris Berman.
Oh, wow.
I interviewed Alyssa Milano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
She was walking around. She had a new line of MLB, like women's gear and stuff that she was peddling. And I interviewed her, and I interviewed Johnny Bench. And it was just, the vibe there was just so cool because there was some debate as to whether or not Pittsburgh deserved an all-star game, but PNC Park was beautiful. It was still fairly new at the time. Now, the team, unfortunately, was not good.
Still not.
Right, still not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I really want to.
Sucks for Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I know. That guy's got an ERA of a half a run, and he's got a losing record. Poor guy.
And they don't want to build around him. I don't understand. Anyway.
Don't get me started on that. But that whole vibe was great. And like I said, Super Bowls are fun, but it's hectic. It's like a cattle call. But that MLB All-Star game was really cool, and I kind of broke the media rule. I got my picture taken with Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
my cameraman, who was a Red Sox fan, said, he's like, yeah, you got to go up to Jeter and see if he'll take a picture with him. I'm like, I can't do this. He's like, why not? It's your one chance. So Derek took his hacks in the cage, and I was like, hey, Derek, get a second. Can I get a picture with you? And he was like, all right. We took a picture together. So it was a great experience. A lot of fun.
Well, this is the Music City mindset. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I ask pretty much everyone, mm-hmm. and I think this is a great question for you because even when we're talking about you in the wrestling ring, how adaptable of a person you are, it probably comes from athletics. Mm-hmm. As an athlete, you have to be adaptable.
Yep.
That's kind of the building block foundation of being an athlete.
Right.
But even the amount of things you've done in your career, basketball, baseball, hockey, everything, you've got to be able to even get in the call to go to see Rice, mm-hmm. At the drop of a hat.
Right.
Been adaptable through your career.
Mm-hmm.
What's something that you've gone through that was you realized to get through that, that next step was a major mindset shift that you had to get through?
Probably the biggest one was, like I said, I got to Pittsburgh and I was a weekend guy for about 6 or 7 years. And then they made some changes. Our main sports guy was actually bumping up to news, and I had an opportunity to be the main sports guy. But they kind of did it in a way to where they didn't automatically give me the job. They put me through a series of tests to see if I could handle it. And it got very frustrating because my boss was like, no, you're good. He's like, we have to post it because by law we have to post it, and we're going to interview some people, but we're letting everybody know you are a very strong in-house candidate. But they strung me along, and they strung me along, and they strung me along, and I started to get a little frustrated, and I had to stop for a second and just kind of say, listen, you got to realize what they're doing. They want to make sure that you're going to be the guy, the undisputed guy, and this is your gig. So just roll with it. Do what they tell you to do your job, do a little extra, and you'll get through it. And once they finally said, okay, you're the guy, and they offered me the deal and, the whole thing, I was very proud of myself for not like snapping and going, what the blank, just give me the damn job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was one of those mind tricks that they play on you. We've all, I got gaslit a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with it and I had to roll with it. And I was able to do that. And when they finally said, okay, you've earned our trust, you're going to be the guy going forward. That was, I think, kind of a feather in my cap. So you're so right, man, because we talk about mindset. We talk about seeing it before you achieve it and just overcoming obstacles. I got woken up one morning and I've always been a rap fan, hip hop fan, right?
Yeah.
It was a Sunday morning, a couple summers ago, and I woke up and all of a sudden these lyrics just came into my head. I don't know where they came from because I'm not a rapper. I can sing a little bit, but I'm not a rapper, right? I love rap. I've been listening to it my whole life. And I immediately got on my phone and I said, let me get these while they're still in my head. And so one of the lines, one of the bars, as the kids say, is, I never underestimate the power of the mind. I'm walking down the righteous path. I seek and I shall find. And that's kind of stayed with me, ever since I typed that into my phone. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Mindset is everything. It is everything. You can have all the talent in the world. You can be, tall, good looking, athletically built, the whole deal. But if you don't have the proper mindset to like, what? I want a piece of what's out there and I'm going to get my piece of it and I'm going to make it my own and I'm going to be successful at it. If you don't have that mindset, you're not going to accomplish anything. It's just, I've seen it happen time and time again. Whenever, I know it sounds corny, but whenever I've really focused to put my mind to do something, I've always gotten it done.
Well, someone really kind of blew my mind a little bit was like, have you ever stopped to think that there might have been a quarterback better than Tom Brady,
right?
But when the lights shined a little brighter, they collapsed.
Sure.
And what made him so good was when the lights kept getting brighter, he kept getting better.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like what you were saying. Like you could have folded under that pressure of being strung along.
Yeah.
But you pulled something a little bit better out of yourself to be that undisputed.
That's a great analogy, right? Because, Tom Brady wasn't the biggest, the fastest, had a pretty good arm, but I've seen guys like Jeff George, Todd Marinovich, Achilles Smith, all these, highly touted quarterbacks. They just didn't have it within them to persevere, and Tom Brady just had that mindset. And as he had more success, he didn't rest on his laurels, right? He's like, I'm going to work even harder because I want even more success. Yeah. And that's what made him, so great. And I look at the NFL today, right? I look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, right? Mm-hmm. Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. Yeah. He's not as good as he thinks he is, but his mindset is like, I'm the best blankety blank out on this field right now. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can touch me. Here locally with Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, the quarterback, same type of deal. He's not as good as he thinks he is, but he said it last year. He said, I think I'm the best player in college football. And he's got that. You have to think that. And that mindset has taken them a long way. I mean, without him, they don't beat Alabama last year.
No, not at all.
It was his determination, his mindset. Like, so what? Is Alabama the number one team in the nation? Those guys aren't as good as me. I'm at least as good as those guys, and I'm going to prove it. And he did.
Because if you think the opposite,
that was a legendary performance.
That's real and an honest thought to yourself, then like you're already beat.
Right.
But I have to ask, because we can't skip over this New York guy.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite rapper?
Oh man,
we put him on the spot.
I know.
That's tough. I'm gonna go with the late great Christopher Wallace, aka the Notorious B.I.G.
Damn.
I think he combined the lyricism, the storytelling, the delivery style, and just the relatability. I got to go with Biggie Smalls. I think he's the GOAT. And I mean, listen, Jay-Z is great. I'm a big LL Cool J fan. He's from New York.
Yeah.
But I got to go with Biggie Smalls.
Jay-Z's kind of like you were talking about with the quarterback, though. Like, he said he's the greatest rapper alive, and then people started saying it, and you're like, hold on a minute. Nobody voted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. that's that mindset because
I'm
hip hop
I'm a Biggie guy.
yeah, because hip hop and
The
rap,
cadence I could keep up with.
right? It's like sports rap music, right?
Yeah.
Because it's everybody's out there competing. It's like I'm the best. No, I'm the best. No, I'm the best.
Well,
You got to have that mindset, or
Yeah.
you're not going to make it. By the way, shout out to Tim Chance and DJ Connect. I'm featured on a hip hop single that's coming out in October called "Hard Working Woman." Be on the lookout for it. We'll be streaming it.
Ooh.
Yeah, drop some bars, man.
Okay. Man, well, I mean, that was literally segueing right into what I was going to ask next. Personally, professionally,
Mhm.
like, what's next for Jon Burton?
Wow. You know what? It's weird because I just turned 55 this summer, but I
You're
feel
55.
yeah,
You look great, dude.
black don't crack. What
Hey.
can I tell you?
Yeah. Unless you did crack.
That's right. That's right. No, genetics. Thank you to mom and dad. But I feel like I'm
Yeah.
just getting started, and where I really want to go is dive deeper into the fitness business. Like broadcasting will always be there for me, and I thank God that I was able to carve out a reasonably successful broadcasting career. But man, I've gotten so deep into fitness, being a trainer, being in and out of gyms. I've spent some time, working for gyms off and on here and there, man. And I really,
For our
really.
Spotify listeners, this dude is jacked. I'll just say it. If you're not on YouTube right now, you can't see this. This dude is
Appreciate
massive.
that. Appreciate that. So I love passing that knowledge on to
Yeah.
people. And there's nothing better, and you guys know this, there's nothing better than working with a client, having them trust you
Yes.
and stick with it. And then they start to see the results. And you just kind of like, I told you, all you got to do is just get here. Just
Yes.
show up. If you show up, you're halfway there. I'll handle the rest. Don't
Yep.
worry. So, I'd love to really dive deep into the fitness business and still do broadcasting. That is, ever since I became, I have very few regrets in life, but I would say one of them is I didn't become a certified trainer younger in life. I should have done that decades ago. I should have done that when I was a teenager, to be honest with you.
Well, they say the best time to do something was right now, or
You're right.
what was it, yesterday or right now?
Exactly.
Let me ask-
The best time to plant a tree was yesterday or right now.
Let me ask you this. If there's a broadcaster, news personality out there that decides they have a beef, is there any chance at 55 dusting your wrestling boots off?
Hey,
One
listen,
more match.
you guys know this in the wrestling business. You never say never. There's a guy here at Nashville Fit Magazine, Big Roy. He keeps talking about what a great wrestler he is. Well, he hasn't been in the ring with me yet, so if he wants it, he can get it. It's not going to end well for him, but just putting it out there, man.
Colby Carter, Jeff
I
Jarrett,
can't,
Tommy Rich.
I'm literally going to call Connor when we leave.
If you're
Pro
watching,
Wrestling Symphony, here we come.
yeah.
Yeah, I might have a couple bumps left on my bump card. You never know. So
Yeah.
I was, that's part of the
Your buddy
whole.
Jeff's supposed to be doing, I'm not trying to say too much, but
Yeah.
supposed to be doing a little school or something, revamping that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I ran into Jeff, and I was a local fan
Yeah.
at a Vanderbilt game, and I walked up to him and I went, "You're Jeff Jarrett," and he just went and walked past me.
That's Jeff. That's Jeff.
Oh,
But
man.
since he teaches my kids in Sunday school,
Yeah,
and I don't say a word to him about wrestling.
he's a great dude. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him and his wife Karen, and it's been a lot of fun. He's a great dude, man. He's a great resource whenever I need something in the form of wrestling. So he's always a phone call away. He's always gracious with his time. He's a cool dude, man.
Well, this was a great show, John. Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Absolutely.
I
say
tend to
this-
ramble a lot. Do I sound like I know what I'm talking
I
about?
feel like
Absolutely.
we fit in.
No, but what I'm saying is, I could say this to every guest.
Mhm.
Everyone thinks like, oh, thanks for having me on, whatever. Like, whoever sits on that couch helps me more than I could ever help whoever sits on that couch. I mean, I feel like we're filming my therapy sessions,
Right.
and then just putting them on YouTube.
Hey, that's what it's all about.
But I appreciate you taking some time
Absolutely.
to do this.
And you guys should know the door is always open, either at News Channel 5 or WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. You guys want to come by and hang out.
Do not say that to me in front of these cameras and not expect me to show up.
Proof.
Doors always open.
I will be there.
Yeah, would love to have you guys around, and anything I can do to help, as you continue on your broadcast journey, let me know, man. I'm here for you guys. We're family now.
Yeah, we are.
And once you get in this family, there's no getting out.
We're Nashville Fit Mafia.
That's right. That's right.
We're gonna get it tattooed. All right, let's wrap it up easy.
Better than Terry's, right?
Well, another great episode, another great guest. This always is a recharge for my batteries. If you like this episode as much as I did, please share, like, and subscribe. And for the love of Nashville,
tune into the next one.